Wolb. All right, so apologies to
Noises.
everybody. Yeah, apologies to everyone who expected this to start like 2 hours ago. Some shit went on in the background, and
My,
You
bas-
can blame it on me.
no,
yeah, blame it
no.
on me too.
It's all
Um,
Well,
my fault.
we'll
I
have a union meeting about it.
but like the general
You
gist
can
is
vote against me and you can vote me out of the union.
Yeah.
we're started now. Also, to
You want
anybody
to
who
do
doesn't
that?
follow me on that platform yet, feel free to go over to Twitch. I'm an affiliate now. And you can, if you're on Amazon Prime, you can throw me your like free Prime gift subscription should you so choose. And that'll financially support me in a way that doesn't cost you any extra a month. So feel free to go do that should you so choose. I would very much appreciate that. And with all that being said, I'm going to do an audio test here because I didn't start with that. Say words.
Test. Noises. Test.
Say words.
Test.
Test,
Noises.
test.
All right,
The
cool.
industrial revolution and its consequences have been a disaster
Yeah.
for the human race.
So, like, the first thing we'll get started, just to, and like, I'm going to share this on Twitter and Facebook, and also Blue Sky since I'm active there now.
Nice.
Why are you doing that to yourself?
I'm on Mastodon.
because-
you can add me on Mastodon.
Okay, I'm on Mastodon as well. You can find me at Insanity is free over there. I'm everywhere, and I hate Twitter the most. So I'm not leaving Twitter, and I'm joining other places that I also am not crazy about because, like, I'm not gonna stop the outreach, and I'm not gonna like let my message be lowered in potential density because certain people are leaving a platform. So,
Okay.
I want the same reach that I had, potentially the same reach that I had on Twitter everywhere else. And since people are migrating to Blue Sky, I got to go where the people is.
Are they actually though?
Yes, actually.
Okay.
So Twitter saw a drop off in users of like hundreds of thousands of people over the last week. And also, like the daily active traffic, according to SEO analytics on Blue Sky, jumped to 10 million a day, which
I
is
have to wonder.
which is about what Twitter is.
I just have to wonder, like, is it like everyone is going there to check it out and see if it's better, and then it'll wear off, or because like, didn't similar things happen when like MeWe came out, and then like Parlor, people used them for like a week.
Never
concluded
this
that they
volume.
sucked, and then went back to the other platforms.
Never at this volume.
Okay.
Like
Yeah, hey, man,
it's understandable because MeWe, first off, that name sounds like a pedophile, and then
Yeah, it's a stupid. I thought that was my first thought. I'm like, that's a stupid fucking name.
yeah, and then second off, it's garbage when you try to actually use it for the purposes.
Yeah.
The interface looks more like a dating app for like beige people.
Beige people.
And like
I tried using it for a while, but now I can't get into my account.
well,
but,
you're not
like,
beige, Kareem. I'm saying beige as in boring. You're not beige.
like it's like a really primitive version of Facebook. Like the interface sucks. Like the first time the group on Facebook that I helped run got banned, we made a MeWe group as a backup. It never really took off, and like the group function is terrible.
Yes.
Like,
It's gonna be like
you have to like
Facebook,
navigate to different screens to read replies to comments on posts. It's awful.
Yes.
Exactly.
I was on MeWe for a while. I quit quite a few social media sites. I don't know what I'm gonna do with other social media sites, but
Me and Jeremiah are going to put in a mutual aid request and buy Bidens again.
I think I'm going
You
to
guys are
start
gonna
a
buy Facebook.
purge.
Is what's
I
gonna
think I'm going
happen.
to start a Facebook purge next year, starting basically on and just going through every day, purging people whose birthday is that day and seeing what's left. I don't know. I'm gonna message everybody.
Well, I have 2 accounts, but that's actually by mistake. It's because my OG account got banned for like a year, and then several months, and then it got restored one day. But like by then I had moved on, and now I've got my politics and shit posting account. So just as well, I don't need people knowing my full name unless they want to go looking for it, which most are too lazy to do.
Yeah, I've got my. The thing is, okay, so I've been everywhere for a really long time. I've been on like Twitter and Facebook for fucking nearly 16 years. It'll be 16 years in January. And I hate both platforms with a burning and virulent passion. And I hate, like, the people who run them. I hate the profit motive. I hate the structure. But they're also where the most people are on the planet. Most people are on Facebook. More people than are on Twitter. Most, like the second thing is, in terms of active users, Twitter itself. Like, in terms of, like, social media itself. And in terms of video content, you can get more active on TikTok than you can on Twitter. Twitter is actually pretty far down. You get, like, Facebook and VKontakte and a bunch of these other ones, and you got, like, Telegram. And then, like, Twitter is, like, actually kind of, I think, close-ish to 10th in terms of daily active users. And then people like Elon Musk jack off about how it's, like, an awesome platform that's, like, you know, the biggest platform. We're the de facto town square, and no, you're not. But at least it has a lot of people. And so I'm not gonna leave anywhere. I'm gonna be fucking as persistent as possible and be just everywhere I can. And that's the way I'm gonna handle it. Because I've been there too long to just give up my ground. I'm not gonna do that. So
yeah, I'm not gonna leave.
Yeah.
I'm still there for the people. I've met some amazing people, so I'm not gonna just leave.
Right. Yeah. And that's the way it should be, as far as I'm concerned. Because, like, they want us to atomize. They want us to leave. They want us to walk away from each other. They want us to fuck off and, like, lose our networks and get disillusioned and fragmented and echo chambered and siloed. That's not going to be how we get there. We're not going to get there by not talking to each other. We need to actually have the conversations, or we're going to be fucked. Speaking of that, though, we have a conversation about libertarian politics today. This will be probably the last stream about this for a bit. Not about the Libertarian Party, because I have a couple, like, conversations I'm going to have with certain elements of it. Like, I'm trying to organize something with the Classical Liberal Caucus to see if they can come on and, like, make the case for their organization and why it's a different, like, better alternative to, you know, things like the Mises Caucus or the Radical Caucus or, you know, whatever caucus is happening now.
Or to differentiate from the previous Pragmatic Caucus that was like the main head before the Mises Caucus came into power.
Or to differentiate from Project Liberal, which is a thing that apparently they used to be pseudo-affiliated with, but have now completely cut ties with because, like,
they had the same founder, so there's two people still connect the two, even if it's not fair at this point.
Yeah, because he's off the board now.
Thankfully.
There's also this Liberal Party that's starting up, and they're having a big meeting on the first weekend of December.
But that's also that's
what I thought. Like, isn't Project Liberal associated with the Liberal Party?
Yeah, but like,
I don't think it's called the Liberal Party.
It is.
I believe it's called the Classical Liberal
It's
Party.
called the Liberal
I actually did hear about that.
It's called the Liberal Party.
It's called the Liberal Party?
It's called the Liberal Party, and I know it's called the Liberal Party because somebody tried to promote the Liberal, like an element of the Liberal Party in the Classical Liberal Caucus group, and they literally told them not to do that because it's a competing party with competing alignments and views.
That's good.
Because
originally...
You're right. I was wrong. Right. You were right. For some reason, I thought it was the Classical Liberal Party. I don't know why.
There probably was an attempt to make a party by that name at one point, too. No, because originally, like, people thought that the Classic Liberal Caucus was just basically created to funnel people into the Liberal Party. But I have noticed, though, like, I think as more people have joined them, their messaging has gotten a lot better. So that's a good thing.
And like,
because let's be realistic, they're going to take the party over by 2026. Like, that's... Yeah,
and like
they're on track to do that, so I'm glad that their messaging has at least improved.
And like, they're the caucus that's literally like, they're the only caucus that currently supports anything I have to say. So I'm like, this is what we got.
Didn't they?
No, they literally don't.
Join by liking enough of
Angela
your posts?
said, "Man, that Jeremy Harding, he's based."
If Angela wanted to talk, I would be open to having a conversation, but I'm not gonna, like, mince any words about it because it's like, I strongly oppose everything about her agenda. I think that she is not, like, it would have been it would have been maybe even something I could have said like a year ago that she was selling out, but I think that this might have been the goal from the start, and that she might have been willing to seize whatever kind of power she had to, even if it came at the expense of throwing the party under the bus. So, like, I'm extremely anti-Angela and anti-Mises. I used to not be. I used to, at the beginning of all this, like, I supported the Mises Caucus. I had, like, you know, I'm at least on a surface level, because I was still a cynical asshole about party politics in general. But when it came to, like, the Mises Caucus, I thought it was at least a good idea in spirit. And so I was like, maybe we'll give this a shot. And then immediately, pretty much, there started to be dominoes that went downhill. Like noticing that when Jacob Winograd posted a Pride version of the Mises logo, which I think...
I was gonna say, like, just 2 years ago, we were having rainbow-colored Mises logos posted, and they got a generally okay reception. So
and like, I didn't even remember this, but Jacob reminded me that I'm the one who made those, and I said it'd be funny if he posted these.
Wait, that was you?
Yeah, and so like,
oh my God.
But I said it'd be funny if he posted them, because I knew that it wouldn't go over well if I did, and because he was the person who actually ran that Facebook group at the time. And then Michael Heiss had to make this big, like, running cover for it statement being like, you know, we accept everybody. And now apparently they fucking don't. But, like, the general gist of it was that, like, yeah, I sent him a rainbow Mises logo, and I'm like, you know, if you want to piss people off, and I didn't even remember doing that, but he remembered, and he's like, yeah, you're the one who sent me that, and I'm like, oh yeah, I fucking did, didn't I? I'm that asshole.
I saw those, and like, I remember it was the rabidly anti-Mises people who were making fun of them. They're like, yeah, right, they're not fooling anyone. I'm like, can't you just like accept that, like, maybe they're not as hateful as you thought? Like,
how the turns have tabled, though.
Of course it was him being a cynical asshole the whole time.
Hey man, Mises Caucus is fighting the good fight.
But like the general,
I thought so too. I did.
The general thing, like and like I'll stop for a bit because I've been saying a lot of words. But like, the thing that really started to like, I got real defensive when it was very clear that I couldn't even post a criticism of Javier Milei in their Facebook group. They would not accept a criticism at all. And so, like, you can support him if you want. You probably shouldn't support a foreign president in your, like, non-foreign group, and make that a policy. You shouldn't make it a requirement that people support this guy who is a foreign president at all in your group. But they did. And when I started to post my posts, they would routinely get declined. And, like, eventually I snuck that little video in. And Joe Biden did what to our money? And and then that's when they banned me. Because they're like, fuck.
It's funny because I commented on that post.
I don't get that either. Why should they?
What were you going to say, Rose?
I
was going to say,
go ahead.
There's no reason for them to have a position on Milei. They should let free and open debate happen.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh no, I was gonna say, like, yeah, I commented on that in such a way that indicated I was in on the joke, but nothing happened. But yeah, then he just got randomly banned one day.
Yeah.
Like a couple of days later.
I think it might have been the next day, but like in the end of the day, like
it was a couple days at least, because I made like a comment on it like a day later, and like I'm like, I don't think I trust this Biden fellow either, and like,
yeah,
it may have been my fault. Come to think of it.
Oh, it's
I got
fine.
thrown out of the Mises Caucus Facebook group, but probably May or June of 2020. It was a long time ago, and I really don't know why. And considering that, that was always kind of where maybe this isn't the right place. I always had some doubts. I'm still in some state groups, but not the national group. I have no idea what happened, and unfortunately, something I've learned that's only going on with libertarians. The most obnoxious people in the groups are the mods.
Yeah.
They're the rudest. They're the rudest. I mean, when Liz Botkin said, "Did you fail public school, little guy?"
Oh God.
And,
yeah. Oh God.
Yeah, she owns a group, and I said, well, I said, she's supposed to be a mod. She's supposed to be better than that, but no.
I said, yeah, I feel
Sometimes you just can't resist.
I kicked my friend Harry out, who used to be on the show. I kicked.
Yeah, well, that was where I started to see the writing on the wall, because that was early this year, and I'm like, because he was one of my favorite people to follow for the account that he ran, and
Jack and Fran, they kicked out, and then they used.
What was that?
Harrison Wells.
I don't know Harrison Wells.
Yeah, he's a great warrior.
He was a major supporter too. Like he would show up wearing Mises Caucus shirts to podcasts and stuff.
He unfollowed me on Twitter because I'm too negative.
Oh, well, okay.
I mean,
I'm just saying, he ran a really good Mises account for a long time.
Yeah, he did.
Why can't you be more red pilled, as they say?
Because I'm not.
Yeah, why are you crushing up and snorting black pills for breakfast?
Because I'm not an incel. I'm a doomer. So
I'm a doomer too. I like 2016 and Eternal.
So I probably will like Eternal. I need to install that.
Good.
I have it for multiple platforms, and I just never got how about this? That'll be one of the streams I do soon. I'll stream Doom Eternal gameplay for the first time. I'll play that on Twitch. That'll be one of the things I do. I've got to have a somewhat of a distance. I've got to be I'll play Sonic, I'll play Mario, I'll do that sort of thing, but I'll also do some of the edgier shit.
I hate to interrupt, but I think we're kind of all over the place, and I guess let's try to streamline the conversation a bit. When we were talking in regards to the Mises Caucus censoring people, you mentioned Harrison Wells. He was, I believe, kicked out of either his state organizer position, or he was kicked out of using the Mises Caucus account for his state.
Both.
Yeah, I remember seeing it happen.
Which is a bitch move, and fuck those bitches.
Right, and we have issues now where allegedly there are other organizers, most recently being kicked out in connection with certain appeals made to the Judicial Committee. I will not comment on it too much right now, simply because
comment on it. It's fine.
I'm trying to find further confirmation on that in regards.
Then just say allegedly and be. I'll take the heat for you. Allegedly, certain caucus members are being removed and disempowered for supporting the petition to reinstate Karen Ann Harlow's. Yes. See, all you've got to do is say allegedly. Allegedly, I fucked your mom,
I mean, this can be confirmed if video evidence of it happening exists.
Yeah.
So I guess you could say that the thing you're alleging happened could be confirmed if evidence
video evidence or photo evidence of it, or just confirmation from
ask the person in question.
Which I have. I'm waiting for his response though, which probably is gonna have to happen on the weekdays. But anyway, we have issues in regards to that. So there's censorship on that level. We also have issues in regards to silence, trying to basically blocking out any criticism. The Liberty Century's account has been officially blocked by both the official Mises Caucus, National Mises Caucus page, as well as Mises Caucus page, Mises Caucus page, and by Angela McArdle's own account in regards to criticisms relating to that, such as in regards to criticisms made against McArdle for, having the LNC pay over $700,000 in coordinated expenses on behalf of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You can find it in the FEC filings for the pre-general, the pre-general term. The LNC paid out of pocket on behalf of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. over $700,000 for his campaign expenses.
Are you saying they didn't make up what they spent and then some?
No. I'm not alleging. In regards to that, in regards to that allegement, they lost about over $100K in
Yeah.
total. Like
Could they make
basically,
that some of
including
it?
all expenses, even if there was a positive from the Kennedy Victory Fund or anything like that, they are so bad at handling money that they lost $100K either way.
Which is hilarious since the libertarians are supposed to be the market people.
This is so. I don't know what's going to be left when it's all said and done. You know, I'd like to look up and see if there's a way to look up some of the early Mises Caucus donors. I keep hearing various theories, but I'd like to know where their money was coming from.
I believe you can find those
It
on
was
the
mostly
FEC
people,
file.
like people pooling their money, like individuals donating money here and there. I think, like
The
from what I could
Mises
tell.
Caucus, the Mises Caucus is filed under the Mises PAC on the FEC official website, so you can always look at the FEC filings for them. They will show at least the itemized receipts for the Mises Caucus.
Also, we've got some comments. Let's quickly address those. Feel first off free to invite people to the stream so that we can get more chat comments. We'll respond to them as soon as we can. Chris Bennett says, too many caucus within the LP. That's accurate. And it's part of the, I would say, problem is that there's not one unifying idea of what it is to be libertarian. So, like, everybody's got to have their own jack-off squadron to make sure that the shot gets shot right. So
Yeah,
Don't
it's an issue in
shame
regards
people.
to-
Jeez,
yeah, right?
I don't see a problem with caucuses in general. Well, okay, I mean, I've become more sympathetic to the argument that okay, maybe we just shouldn't have caucuses. I'm not sure that would actually prevent infighting them. I mean, we're
The
libertarians.
issue is not
You're not
necessarily that
constantly
caucus.
fighting each other.
Right. The issue is not necessarily that caucuses exist. The issue is that the caucuses are working against each other as factions to take over the party, as if it's like a competition, instead of trying to make a coordinated.
Oh, I don't have a problem like with people like coming together for like us because they have shared values and endorsing candidates and even providing recommendations on like, okay, I think, we should vote this way if we want to see the party go in such and such direction. Like, I don't have a problem with it, but you're right, though. It does. At the end of the day, though, it does just kind of create warring factions within the party. So it has left me questioning whether or not that's a good thing or whether we'd be better off if we just didn't have caucuses.
I guess here's my thing. When it comes to let's say the Fed on the federal level, the national committee, the national committees, it should fully be focused on administration. It should be in regards to like dealing with conventions, helping with candidates, and the caucuses could make recommendations for candidates to run for office, but that's a wholly different thing. It should deal with like those aspects that help make the party function rather than necessarily focusing on more ideological aspects. That can be decided by the general constituents, and it can be decided by consensus for the most part, at least for general ideas, even if there's like specifics, like if I want to mention trans stuff, there's different limits. There's different limits in regards to certain like how people view trans people and like how much is too far. But when it comes to the general idea of, say, look, people should be allowed to express themselves as they wish, as long as they aren't harming anyone, Libertarians can generally agree upon that, as long as there isn't some other ideological bias, which I would get into in regards to the Mises Caucus, but that's another thing to talk about. So when it comes to the National Committee, it should be focusing just on making sure that the party works. When it comes to like actual policies, that can be decided by the constituents through a consensus agreement. And that's where caucuses can come into play. If you cannot if we don't want everyone focusing on everything at the same time, we create, what's that one term, like in economics or industry, there's a term, freaking dividing the work. What's it called?
Division of labor?
Well,
division of labor.
The split, I think it's called like split the work or
right, division of labor. Like you can make, instead of having things, you can divide the labor. If you want a caucus, for example, outright libertarians, they focus on LGBTQ issues. You have a caucus that can prioritize LGBTQ issues, pushing for those specific policies and like helping with that. You can have another caucus focusing more on drug decriminalization. You can have another caucus focusing on, you know, educating on economics, which is what the Mises Caucus was originally intended to do, for example.
Unfortunately, though, the outright caucus is no longer, outright libertarians are no longer operating. I checked them the other day to
they're
see.
no longer operating?
Yeah, apparently they
changed
stopped
their
posting.
name following Reno. Like, they changed their name to Outright USA, which, I don't know, it's kind
No.
I
Still,
guess it's
if
just-
they're
it
not, if
seems
they're
like-
not
I don't
working.
know. Yeah.
it was kind of a bitch move. Like, they just immediately changed their name and ended all affiliation with the Libertarian Party.
That's disappointing.
I'm looking at Outright USA, and it's not publishing either. They just gave up.
That's disappointing.
It is.
I guess.
Yeah, because I liked them.
Yeah.
I liked them.
Right. My main point, I guess, even though, but my main point still stands. The caucuses can work where instead of having a sort of factional disagreement, such as what we have in our national government right now between the Democratic and Democratic and Republican parties, as well as, you know, Libertarian Party, Green Party, so on and so forth, where it's a competition to see who will get power. You work on it through a decentralized level. The caucus is sort of acting almost as like a federation of different groups working together. They help create their own things and are independent in that regards, but they come together to work on more general levels as well. It's cooperation and coordination of activity while still allowing autonomy, individuality stuff. The good stuff that comes from positive decentralization, which the Mises Caucus was also supposed to be about.
You can tell Kareem's not listening because he didn't perk up when you said the word federation. So,
Hey, man. Yeah.
So, we also got Chris Bennett says Liberal Party platform is classical liberalism. Potentially. But I also know that they embrace neoliberal thinkers, and Eagle is at the forefront of some of that, which makes me hate it.
They spent weeks defending the U.S. dropping nukes, so
yeah, and literally promoted.
They kind of thoroughly discredited themselves there,
and literally promote Reagan because they've got a Reagan a Reagan Foundation guy on their board. So. Yeah, not my idea of how to have ethical liberalism. Chris also says, "How dare you question the Feces Kings?" Talking about Mises. That is an amusing way to say it, but also not the way I would choose. It's kind of too nice to claim that they're like shit and that they're not intentionally doing this. Henry Clade says mod moment, and also says. Talking about the fact that the mods are oftentimes the most annoying.
I've been a mod, and I can confirm that that's accurate.
Same. Henry Clade also says, "Man, this party really is compromised, ain't it?" Let's briefly talk about that. So,
yeah, I'm interested in that discussion too.
So the thing is, it's got certain better elements. It's not all bad. But at the same time, the parts of it that are bad are really fucking bad. And those people are mostly in leadership. The thing that really got me when I found it out, the thing that really cemented the absurdity of all of this, was that I was, as a joke, but also kind of serious, being like, the people who do things like this, who are on the anti-woke grift, those sorts of people are very much in it so that they can coast and maybe get a political position, and if they don't, they can at least sell their podcasts and books. And now, one of the examples that I can point to is the account that got built up in order to promote the Mises Caucus, the Mises Chair account that was
Dissident Media.
That belonged to Michael Heiss. Is now completely converted. All the tweets that built up that follower base are gone, and he has now completely converted that to dissident media. Now,
I saw a tweet there that was just, oh my god, it was like, oh god, I can't remember what it said, but it was just completely, in on the whole MAGA thing now.
Yeah, first off, I gotta say, if that account ever gets compromised, Michael had better hope that he never shat where he ate, because if Michael has a whole lot of DM history with like people when he was like doing it on a more personal level, he's fucked. And he can never really share that account with anybody else. He can never have anybody else on his professional team, because if he does, they're going to see all of his DM history. They're going to see all the apps that he used to have connected. They're going to be able to see behind the curtain. And I don't think he trusts anybody that much. So it's like it's one of those things where it really hamstrings it, and it's going to at some point blow up in his face unless he just go.
There's a reason why people are so concerned about haters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like the whole thing is fucked to begin with, and then you get to the point where like these people have been slowly weakening the party. People have been walking away, people have been stopping giving money, and these people have justified it in the name of relevance, allegedly. But then they'll do things like that. They'll take their account, which gained relevance for the Libertarian Party under a bunch of banners and shit, and they'll mass convert it, and now it's a Mises affiliated thing, or a dissident media affiliated thing that used to be a Mises affiliated thing. And Michael Rechtenwald, when I got on his Wreck the Regime mailing list, because I had given my name to the Mises Caucus mailing list, I never consented to being on Rechtenwald's mailing list.
Oh yeah, I ended up on it somehow too.
Yeah, and now I'm on the so I was on the Wreck the Regime list immediately, and that's how I knew that's who they were going with before they even like promoted him at all. And then
he was going on podcasts around that time, and they were kind of like teasing that he would be their candidate.
Yeah, and so then I'm suddenly on his list, and now because I was on that list, he has added me to his Substack list, and it's like he's selling courses and podcasts and being like, the Mises Institute walked away from me and cost me my podcast because I told the truth. No, they did it because Mises was a Jew, you anti-Semitic cunt.
No.
He had a lot to offer as far as economic analysis, and I really did want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but I mean, he kind of went completely off the rails.
Non-profit organizations cannot endorse political candidates. They had to fire him because he ran for office.
Yeah, that's that too.
They can.
That's why.
They can like have him on a podcast. Or have him be an employee.
He had a fellowship. He was getting a salary from them.
Right, but that's not an endorsement.
Well, yeah, but that's why they cut him loose, at least according to him, is because he ran for office. Although I don't know how he wouldn't have at least investigated it.
Yeah, wouldn't you have known that up front, that like if you're
Michael
running
Heiss,
political office, you can't stay on that?
On August 23rd, Michael Heiss actually mentioned to me the Mises Caucus asked him to run for president, and I sure as hell wish that on August 23rd, 2023, and I wish I told him stay the hell away from this mess. Yeah. I'm really sorry I didn't do that.
So
wait. Who asked you that?
Rechtenwald did.
He about running? Yeah.
I should have told him don't get involved.
I'm like, did he know what he was signing up for? Because I always kind of wondered if maybe he didn't.
It wouldn't be the first time which members of the Mises Caucus did not, inform the people who they're dealing with or their constituents about certain actions they're taking. We can look at Angela McArdle with her unilateral actions taken in regards to promoting Rescue the Republic without confirmation or consent from the Libertarian National Committee beforehand, because she used their mailing lists to promote the event, just as Michael Heiss used the mailing lists to promote Rechtenwald and have them subscribed to Rechtenwald. So that kind of corruption and that kind of not anti-transparency necessarily, maybe alleged anti-transparency, but the whole non-transparency of it all can cause a lot of issues. It's like good communication requires transparency, and how they've been acting so far for the past year has not been very transparent, to say the least.
Yeah, and like,
Yeah,
go.
I was gonna say I sometimes wonder if they set Rechtenwald up to lose. Aaron Adams said it was Jeff Douglas who gave him the gummy. So it's. I mean, maybe they
He
wanted
never
Chase to get
said.
the nomination all along.
He never said who gave him the gummy. He just said that people offered it to him and he wanted to act like he was cool and hang out with them. But
Well, I
That's
trust
an
Aaron. I
interesting
trust
theory,
Aaron Adams.
because
And I want to make
I've
sure
heard-
it's Aaron Adams who told me that. People know
that's
that it was
very
Aaron Adams.
interesting.
Yeah.
Because like I've heard all sorts of theories that he was gonna step down and endorse Trump. Now I have on fairly good authority that was not the case, or at least not at the time. And like if you think back to like the night of the Trump rally, like he spent a lot of time shit talking Trump, so he clearly had not been given instructions to, speak nicely of him. That's not to say that he wouldn't have been convinced to do so later on, because I could definitely see that happening if someone said, I've decided we should really be supporting Trump. So we've decided that you should just step down and endorse him. Like, I could see it happening, but like, there's not reason to believe that this was the plan from early on. And like, these are people who are fairly upfront, like following the convention, like we're fairly upfront about, the negotiations that they were doing with Trump. So I don't think they'd lie about that.
Well, if Angela went to went to see Trump in November last year, who knew about that visit and when? Most of us didn't know, but obviously,
No one did.
her partner probably knew about it. But did she tell Heist? Did she tell Rechtenwald? I don't know.
Pattern of opaqueness. I guess I don't know what's a good word for non-transparent besides opaqueness. It's a pattern of opaqueness.
Right.
Continually acting. Yes. Continually acting in a way that does not inform her constituents about what she's doing, whether it's supporting, whether it's going to these meetings, these secret communications with Trump, whether it's supporting a rally that is in support of Trump and has Trump pasted over Washington.
Yeah.
In their, like George Washington, not the state of Washington, over their advertisement materials.
And it's not just Trump either. It's all these pro-Trump bitches. Like, they had fucking Weinstein. They had fucking, like, everybody who was supposed to be at the rally got a seat on a boat crossing the Potomac. And it's like, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up, you stupid cunt. This ain't like that. This is a fucking rally that you had to They held their people hostage at this rally. Did y'all see that video?
What was this?
Okay, so, all right. It was so. If I was there, I would be humiliated, because here's what happened. They didn't have enough money to fully fund the rally partway through it. So you know what they did?
Right.
They had their guy, the guy that was
one of the co-founders went on stage begging for money.
He said, "We've got a QR code up here, and if you don't donate, we're not bringing out RFK. We're not bringing out Russell Brand." And it was all this stuff that he was saying, and he held them hostage for 4 minutes while they fucking scanned the QR code and gave money to fucking rescue the Republic.
I would be angry if I were one of those speakers.
Yeah.
I would just go out and do it anyway. I'd be like, fuck this shit.
Well, but that's part of the thing.
They brought me here to speak. Yeah, they're not going to hold the audience hostage before I can go out there.
But that's part of the thing. Like, a lot of these people did that for a payday. Like, they didn't speak for free, and they also did it so that their name could be publicly associated with a giant concert experience. It was like Republican Woodstock, only very small, because much like other things on the Republican Party, this is vastly overstated in size. The general thing that they did is they played it up. They had Skillet and a bunch of other bands. 5 Times August, I think, was one of them, and a bunch of other shit. And they had all these fucking people there that were supposed to be oh, this is a big fucking event. And so they had to pay those people. And it was multi-million dollars, according to Angela McArdle, on top of the 25,000 that RFK like fundraiser thing, and we'll get into that. But like
the Kennedy Victory Fund, yes,
yeah,
$25,000 non-election related donations, which contradicts their disclosure statement on the website for the Kennedy Victory Fund that said these contributions will be used in connection with the federal election.
exactly. And so like
So there,
go.
so there's like, well, no, you go. I'll finish later.
Just generally speaking, they needed the rally to look good. And I was watching this happen before I even knew what it was because I wasn't watching the rally. I had other shit to do. And when
I couldn't. It was so boring.
Well, and also because I normally like to watch shit like this on 4.5x because I'm impatient as fuck.
Yeah.
So
I wish I could pay attention while watching it that quickly because I don't have the patience to watch it at normal speed. But like, I also can't watch it sped up because then it's just distracting if like their voices are too high.
Yeah. Well, generally speaking, I watched this happen before I even watched it because I was like, hey, check on the fundraiser, see how it's doing, because it was like $13,000 or something like that. Like no, one of them was that was the Rage Against the War Machine.
The second
thing.
Rage Against the War Machine, heavily underfunded compared to their original rally.
Yeah.
2 years
And
the
ago.
original one was
Or
at
2
least
years
like
ago.
they drew a crowd at least, and yeah, I originally like for the first one I wished I'd been able to be there, but I wasn't in a position to travel to DC at that time. But yeah, the second one was just sad.
Yeah, I was at the second one. It was a total waste. It really was.
Didn't they have more speakers than attendees?
They did.
The Saturday rally was totally dead. It was.
And they were still.
Angela's trying to confuse people on the two. She's trying to forget the Saturday rally. The anti-war rally was completely dead.
And yeah, and
which is kind of sad because that's the more important issue.
Yeah.
More important than getting pro-war Trump in office. And so like the whole thing, like with that involved, like the anti-war rally, they still treated it like it was a thing, and they still treated it like it was a serious event, and like they still had these people speaking to a crowd, but there was no crowd. So what we heard was just, it was so fucking funny. You just heard this echo go through this empty fucking square. Like these people had the world's biggest megaphone, and they were just shouting out to this, like, on this street corner, and like nobody was listening to them. Like, it was so fucking pathetic.
God, that's actually just sad though. Like that's the kind of event that should be drawing people. Thing is, though, I feel like that wasn't well advertised. I'm like, have I just been out of the?
No,
loop?
it was
Why
not
did
well
I
advertised.
not hear about this until?
It was not well advertised because the Libertarian National Committee was not informed about that for like a long while. I think they were informed last minute from what I was looking into.
I didn't hear about it until like 3 weeks before it happened.
That's exactly the thing.
Well,
they poorly advertised it.
Well, yeah, and the other thing too is once something like that happens, you're going to have a lot of trouble ever bringing those kind of speakers or performers back. I mean, look, Jordan Page doesn't want to come all the way from Washington to perform for that kind of crowd.
Right. Yeah.
The state of Washington.
Organizers this time, like, because last time they had like the the People's Party or something. Like, did they have anyone that co-organized this one this time?
I
don't believe so. No, it was only the Libertarian Party that was coordinating this one.
Have an inauguration party.
This one had the People's Party as well.
This one also had the People's Party as a coordinator?
Yeah.
I originally thought it... Okay.
But it was being headed by the Libertarian Party because Angie owns the org.
Right, that's fair. It was the Libertarian Party was the main, like, I guess, co-organizer, and then Angela McArdle was listed as the contact for anything regarding Rage Against the War Machine, which was funny because one of the contact emails did not work on the website.
Right. Well, let me just do the coalition tab on the site. We've got the Libertarian organizer is the Libertarian Party. The organizer is the People's Party. Gold coalition level, which is they gave us money, is completely empty. Nobody gave a shit.
All the coalition levels, or they gave them a certain amount of money.
Well, right.
It's just gold gave them the most money.
Right. That's what I'm saying, though. The gold section is empty because nobody gave them that much. The Mises Caucus was a silver sponsor. So was Center for Political Innovation. So was Libertarian Party of Maryland. So was the Libertarian Institute. The Bronze Coalition, where Liberty Speaks. U.S. Students Against Imperialism, which it wasn't that. It was just one student organization of like 5 people from this like fucking snooty ass college. There was Bitcoin Protocol. There was Vermont People's Party. There was Naturopathic Doctor News and Review. There was Morty Shalman's War and Sex book. Like, he got to advertise his book. It was some of the world's cheapest ads that you could buy at the time. You could just like post your book cover on their site if you gave them $250.
Wow.
There was Libertarian Mutual Aid Org. This is olive branch level.
Yeah.
Sarpy County. If your county is called Sarpy County, just give up. Free State Project.
Is that worse than Onondaga? Because that's my county.
Yeah, it's way
I
worse.
talked to Marty Shellman. He was pretty cool.
There's Free State Project New Hampshire. There's Hindus for America First, which is dumb. And also like their logo is AI, and I hate that. Bring Our Troops Home was another olive branch supporter, which is so actually no, bronze is 500, olive branch is 250. Silver was 1,000, and gold was 5,000. So nobody paid them the 5,000, which is like, yeah, it's fucking, and you got to like create promotional posts. This was one of the cool things. It was the cheapest advertising you could buy because you got to create promotional posts for your like organization affiliated with the Rage Against the War Machine rally social media pages. So if you wanted your shit boosted to their audience, you pay them $500 and you got to get a free ad, which is basically like the cost of ads anyway. And then like the silver sponsor, 5 promotions. The gold sponsor, 10 promotions. So basically like, and also there's like a banner, like that was supposed to have a bunch of different logos of organizations and people on it, and you would have your logo on that. So it was like, all of this is just giant patheticness. Like, it's mostly just advertising potential. And then nobody showed up to watch the ads.
Because I thought they had a better setup this time, at least. Like, there were no like they had the stage in such a way that like there wouldn't be people like the speaker wasn't at risk of having some asshole flying a Russian flag behind them or something.
They were preparing for over a year, but they only advertised it in the 3 weeks before doing it. Basically, it was basically they were focusing on all these smaller aspects that they screwed up their advertising. They didn't get like a strong enough base that they.
It's disappointing because I really did support like the anti-war coalition building. Like that was one of the primary reasons why I supported the Mises Caucus in the beginning. Like I really liked the anti-war coalition aspect.
I had my issues in regards to how the original one wasn't necessarily fully anti-war because you had Jackson Hinkle as a speaker.
Right,
he
they
was
had
a pro-Russian militarist.
People.
You had what was that one dude who got
Scott Ritter?
Let's see. Yeah, Scott Ritter, who was also served for Russian militarism, as well as a twice, I don't know if it was
twice convicted child predator.
Twice convicted child predator, charged 3 times for child predator stuff. So it's like, you really, if they wanted to make an anti-war coalition, they didn't choose the best of, at least for some of them, they did not choose the best array of speakers. However, they did have at least like a broader support thing because they were better at advertising it and they were better at doing other things. But with this most recent one, they screwed up entirely the advertising because they only did it in the last 3 weeks, which last 3 weeks in order to buy a plane ticket to Washington D.C.
Yes,
that's fucking dumb.
It's not exactly just an easy trip you can make.
Yeah, you've got
it's like one of the most expensive places to travel to.
Yeah, exactly. If it was somewhere that's less expensive, maybe the 3 weeks could be like argued for. But also, 3 weeks is not a lot of time for people to set their schedules for stuff in regards to dealing with work. And even if it's weekends, people have to take care of their kids. People have to take care of other
Yes.
like issues. So it's like you need more than 3 weeks to advertise it. At least 2 months would probably be a good threshold for advertising.
Yep.
And
Mhm.
they were preparing it for a year. They had the they had the what is it, the give butter or whatever the frick it
Yep.
is that they used for gaining funds. They had that up for at least a year. They had the time. They could have set up just a freaking Twitter page. They had a Twitter page already at the very least that they could like advertise it. They
Right.
decided to not advertise it enough. They could have it where the chair like literally talks to the LNC saying, hey, we want to do Rage Against the War Machine again. They would be happy to have known about it, not only because, you know, most of them were on McCardle's side in regards to things, but also most of them, even those who are not fully on McCardle's side, would be fine with having an anti-war coalition
Right.
and having things promoting like anti-war figures and the like. So it's just a failure of not being transparent to communicate, basically not being transparent enough to effectively communicate with your target audience.
Right. Well, and also, so first off, we got some comments in chat. First, comically large water bottle. Yes, yeah, I have a 64-ounce thing that I constantly drink from. I think
I'm glad I'm not the only one to think it's comically large.
I think this might be your first time commenting on the channel. If it's not, then I apologize. But yeah,
Well, then we'll try to make it special.
yeah, welcome to the to this like weirdly unhinged sort of freeform conversation. But he also says like the culture war and its consequences have been a disaster for U.S. politics. Exactly. Because, like, there are so many people who bought into that shit, and then because they bought into that shit, they could only ally with one, like, section of the population. That's the reason Jimmy Dore has to pretend that that he's some, you know, leftist figure, and then pretend that the right and left have flipped, and Republicans are the new leftists. No, they're not, you stupid cunt.
On the surface, that's where a lot of the working class is gone, but like that's a very surface level analysis.
And just because you're a member of the working class does not mean that you are using your class position as a position to the left. So it's like the idea that he's somehow on the left and that somehow the like, you know, the Republican Party and Trump and shit is the real new left is asinine. Just because you
I
got
think people who may lean in that direction have like isn't like I don't know. I guess what am I trying to say here? People who understand that there's something wrong with the system as a whole, and who are fed up with the mainstream establishment, end up going in that direction because that's like that's what's available.
They can say that there's something wrong, but they don't understand that there's something wrong unless they understand what is.
They don't understand the mechanism, and they
Right.
don't understand the why of it.
So they're not leftists because they're not actually on the left. They're not actually like
Right.
doing anything.
No, they're not. They may have ended up there though had someone guided them in the right direction.
Right. And so, like, generally speaking, the reason I'm bringing this up is because that's the reason the culture war has gotten so bad. Is because the vast majority of these people have found a way to convince people that the only way to, like, fight the system is to help me trigger the libs and fight the gays or the trans people or the whatever.
Because it lets them feel like they accomplished something. That's why I guess I get so irritated by the culture war. Like both the anti-woke side and the woke side of it. Because like they're two sides of the same coin. Like at the end of the day, it just keeps people focused and fighting each other on manufactured issues, and then they can feel as if they accomplished something. Oh, we got that bigot fired from their job, or oh, we got that space commie fired from his job, or whatever, gay race commie, or whatever.
That's definitely part of it.
And accomplish something, and then they're not focusing on the people actually oppressing them. I guess it's just frustrating, and
I think that's
fall for it over and over.
Right, I think that's definitely part of it. Though I think, especially now with the right, with how it's sort of like how the culture war is going and how it's how at least it's hard turning to the right. I think there is also the thing where I already mentioned the last thing about the right, seems to be a rise of like a new fascism, a new American fascism not necessarily movement, but just the new rise of American fascism,
Yeah.
having been built up over the years, and we're leading to the culmination now that on the social or cultural level, we have, of course, strongmen like Trump coming up, and we have with them advocating positions that generally villainize the other, whether that other would be the immigrant or whether that other would be like queer people or trans people, which when you look at like certain history, such as in regards to Nazi Germany, there's some overlaps in regards to those social policies of being against like people of a different ethnic group or people who were like trans or queer or stuff like that. And even in the economic policy, where you have the more protectionist policies in regards to tariffs, in regards to focusing on home industry and trying to make self-efficiency, in regards to militarization, where part of the Republican National Committee platform that Trump took up as his presidential platform was in putting more funding and putting more support to have greater jobs and stuff, like going to the defense industry, the same defense industry that they'll use to try and modernize the military to make the strongest military ever.
Exactly.
Having something like the freaking Iron Dome that like Israel has installed in regards to that, greater and greater militarization in order to enforce a peace through strength policy, which, look, if it walks like a fascist, talks like a fascist, it's gonna start like goose stepping. If it's goose stepping like a Nazi, if it's goose stepping like a fascist, talking like a fascist, either it is fascist or it's going to become fascist with just a few nudges in the right direction.
Right. And that's part of the thing. So first off, Deer says also, hello. LOL, I remember they demanded more money. It was crazy pathetic. That it was. Also, he says that the Kingmaker strategy is hoppy and shit. And yeah, absolutely. Like, you got that whole like idea that a monarch would be better than what we have now. So it doesn't matter if you subvert the will of the people. You're like, his democracy failed. So you can just put in your guy, and that's why so many people.
And fetishizing the strongman aesthetic again,
right?
Where it's trying to get like this sort of, we need the one man, the king, to come in, the king, the dictator, whatever, come in to like make everything right. Which, to be honest, if we want to talk about, Angela McArdle with the support for Trump or the Mises Caucus support for Trump, it's coming to that sort of cult of personality almost.
Right.
Well, libertarians complain, all the time about politicians taking an oath and then violating the Constitution. And we've got somebody who's totally violated the Constitution of the LP, which, we just call it the bylaws.
And also supporting somebody who violated the not only principles of the Libertarian Party in his previous administration, but also the literal fucking actual country's constitution. So,
I mean, the bylaws are basically just a running joke amongst, but is it in the bylaws? Like, it's become a joke. It's like, some of us actually do still take things like contracts and agreements seriously because
the bylaws are a contract among the members. Yeah,
right.
It really are.
It's a voluntary organization. Like, you chose to join it. If you don't want to abide by the bylaws, that's fine. But then just relinquish your position and go do something else. You don't like the contract you signed.
Yeah. And that's
Libertarian Party of New Hampshire.
And that's where we'll get into the
I'm still waiting for them to get disaffiliated because they blatantly violated the bylaws by straight up.
The LNC has not communicated anything back to me. I've tried to communicate with them, asking, hey, are you going to do anything in regards to Libertarian Party of New Hampshire blatantly violating the bylaws? It's not a thing of innuendo. It's not a thing where it's a blurry. Blatantly violating the bylaws by by supporting Trump, by endorsing Trump as the candidate. It's an opposition candidate to the Libertarian Party, and it's part of the whole duopoly of being part of the Republican Party.
Right.
It's a direct violation of the bylaws, and I haven't really heard anything from that. From the one member who has contacted me, that is part of the LNC, they said probably nothing's going to happen. Like, they're sort of kind of cynical about it because of how much support Angela McCarroll has on the LNC, and because of how much support they are all giving to the Trump ticket.
Well, let me ask you
know,
something.
Trump.
Did you email them to do that? And did you email them like
Multiple
non-anonymously?
times I've emailed them.
Okay, I'm curious now because if I were to look at a possible look of the situation, I might think that maybe they blocked you on Twitter because they recognized your name and they didn't want to be held personally accountable. Maybe professionalism isn't their strong suit.
Well, at least from my other sources, professionalism is definitely one way to say that they are not strong. And
You're like, well, you could just call them.
As I've already shared on the Liberty Centuries account, Cappy Yanuskavich, at-large member of the LNC of the Libertarian National Committee, wished violence upon the members of Liberty Centuries because we were making critiques of the LNC.
Yeah, I mean, you're just over here like, I mean, you could just call them fascist cunts, but you could say that they're not professional as well.
Yeah. They're only,
willing to wish violence upon critics.
I thought they
think they're only
cared
four
about decorum.
I think there are only 4 non-Mises people on the LNC, and that's Rutherford,
Redpath,
yeah. Paul Dar, who is our region rep, and whoever our alternate region rep is from here, because I'm in Texas.
Keith Thompson is the alternate.
So, and the reason so this is a good seg, because one of the more recent elements of corruption that hasn't been discussed on this channel before, well, I mean, that has, but I think, like, not extensively, Karen Ann Harlow's has been ousted. And that whole situation is fucked. Because all she did was routinely hold them accountable on the public email list and in various other channels and ways. And also, she did her fucking job and submitted the actual candidates.
The Libertarian Party candidate on the Libertarian ballot line in her home state.
Exactly.
Repeat that a few times and spend some time thinking about it, and you'll realize how fucked the whole situation.
Even if they could make a case that it violated the bylaws somehow. Their reasoning that it violated the bylaws was because it was in direct contradiction of an order from the chair, as well as it violating the autonomy of the affiliate. Even if that was the case,
right?
If they're violating the autonomy of the affiliate because the affiliate chose to not support the candidate for and this was specifically Colorado. They chose not to support the Libertarian candidate, which, from what I understand of even the voting of the delegates, it was they supported
Chase.
I'm sorry.
Over RFK.
I'm losing my train of thought. Let me
it's a little late. We got started a little late. Everybody's a little bit tired, including me.
Right. My wires are a little scrambled.
Well, yeah, but that's because you're Polish.
Are Polish people nocturnal?
Oh my God. Okay. Anyway, what was I saying?
Words.
In regards to the thing of violating bylaws, even if it can be said that she violated the bylaws by the letter, one, we have the Colorado affiliate, because this was mainly in regards to the Colorado affiliate, because Karen Ann Harlos is a Colorado citizen and a member of the Libertarian Party of Colorado. She filed it for the Libertarian candidate because instead of the Robert F. Kennedy candidate, because even in comparing the votes of the delegates in the national convention, Chase Oliver got more votes from the Colorado affiliate delegates than for RFK Jr., which the executive committee for Colorado wanted to put as their ticket, Robert F. Kennedy as the Libertarian on their ticket on Colorado. So
Hannah Goodman and co, which were Mises picks. Like, that's one of the fun things is, like, Hannah Goodman and Hector Ruz were both Mises picks, and they were both pushing for this in that state.
Right, that's the thing. And so it's like, even if, like, there's a violation of the bylaws, it's kind of scummy. It's using the law. It's using what Angela McCarroll would use lawfare to punish someone for, like, trying to support the national candidates as, at least in spirit. the affiliate parties should. Second point, if they are so worried about violating the bylaws, one, they should not have violated, Angela McArdle should not have violated the bylaws by using Libertarian Party property, which includes the mailing list, to advertise an event that she had not disclosed a conflict of interest with. Rescue the Republic. She is a co-founder of that rally and the organization behind it.
Yeah.
She did not disclose that until after advertising the Rescue the Republic rally to members of the LP subscribed to the mailing list,
Right.
which that mailing
using the
list
resources
is considered. Yeah, it's use of resources. It's considered Libertarian Party property, as we've known before with Joe Bishop Henchman. When they had the complaint about him in regards to like the mailing lists being kept for some other affiliate. I don't remember exactly. That it's considered property. So Angela McArdle violated the bylaws by using property without disclosing the conflict of interest that she had, which violated the LNC policy, which violated the Libertarian National Committee policy manual, which, if I remember correctly, the bylaws state that the chair has to succumb to the duties that have been given to her.
Yeah.
Which those duties include what's listed in the Libertarian National Committee policy manual, because that applies to all members. She violated that, and thus she violated the bylaws. So if they cared about bylaws, one, they should be removing Angela McArdle, first of all, or at least having some sort of trial in regards to that. Two, if they cared about bylaws, they would be doing something right away in regards to what's happening with the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire. It has been, let's see, how many weeks since the 4th? 2 weeks on the dot. 2 weeks. They have done nothing.
Yeah, and
Libertarian Party of New Hampshire is at least one of the more well-known affiliates. They would have known about that. They would have known in regards to them endorsing Trump, because they announced it more than once.
Right. And then that element increases when you realize that they also illegally fundraised for RFK Jr. even after he was on Team Trump by promoting the KVF with the official LP email resources as well.
We thought that was gonna end once RFK dropped out of the race. I was gonna say just the whole thing with the RFK strategy that the LPCO was attempting. I guess what bothers me with the bylaws stuff, even if you could find enough loopholes in the bylaws that it was technically allowed, it very clearly violated the overall spirit of the party. So I don't know. I just find this whole practice of trying to find loopholes in bylaws to be able to do what you want incredibly sleazy.
Yeah.
Obviously, you are supposed to support the candidate. Why even have a national convention where you vote for a candidate if state affiliates are then just going to say, you know what, we don't like the candidate that everyone voted for, so we're just going to not run him anyway, and we're going to rent out our ballot line. That clearly goes against the spirit of it. And if you don't want to be a member of National, fine, you don't have to be. Parties can disaffiliate, and they can do their own thing.
And
in this case, nobody who declined to put Chase on the ballot did that, though. They just decided, you know what, we don't like him because there were pictures of him at a gay pride parade wearing a mask, so we don't like him.
Yeah. And it's
it was always something really stupid, okay, he was a little slow to come around on the COVID stuff, and I get that that's a deal breaker for some people, but again, a lot of this was very
then that's
a lot of this was exaggerated.
Mandates.
The hate towards him reached a ridiculous level, and I don't. There's no point in having a national convention if you're going to decide you don't like the candidate and not get behind him. Either get behind the candidate that gets elected fair and square, or just don't be a member of national.
And the other half of that is that so if they're going to say that COVID jabs are and supporting them is a disqualifying thing, which is what they said, then they need to accept that it's also disqualifying when Trump is the leader of Operation Warp Speed.
Lockdown Dawn.
Yeah, if they're gonna say that right, and if they're gonna say that he supported mandates even though he didn't, and that's a disqualifying event, then they need to say that the guy who's the leader of the lockdowns is the architect of the lockdowns is also disqualified. If they're going to say like Mike Rechtenwald did that you can't support the genocide that Israel's doing, then they have to oppose the person who got $1 million plus from AIPAC and is giving them a blank check in return. If they're going to say that it's wrong for somebody to allegedly be a groomer because of policies involving children, they can't support the friend of Jeffrey Epstein who said he would fuck his daughter if she wasn't. There's so many cases, there's so many things that they just like have tipped their hand on about, like, you know, like supporting Trump even though it goes directly counter to those alleged principles, because it's not principles at all. They're not the party of principles, they're the party of power and pragmatism and seizing what they can so that they can get their dumb fuck relevance and that they can sell their podcasts and courses and get more YouTube subscribers. And the people who aren't on board with that get shafted, which means that the people on the board are mostly loyalists, are mostly people who've been okay with that for a certain, like, to a certain extent, and that's the reason they're not doing shit about it, and that's the reason that they're helping oust people like Karen Ann Harlos, because they're with that program, because they're bought out, because they're so angry with the left that they're willing to completely shoot liberty in the face in order to do it.
Is it that deep, you think, or do you think they just genuinely believe that they have this opportunity that's never been tried before, because they haven't looked back at party history? This has been attempted over and over.
Yeah, I think
I don't know.
Let's let Kareem talk.
Some chases people would have paid.
Let's let Kareem talk. He hasn't had like much to say in the past. Like,
yeah, I actually haven't had. Well, because I feel like we've hashed a lot out of this, and we have talked about it. So, but here's what I'll say. I do think a lot of them believe that they can make a deal with statists, just like I thought I could at the local level. I tried at the local level. I said, you know, I'll run with some Republicans and Democrats, and they were good people. But then once I ran around saying taxation is theft, everybody on both sides lost their minds. And I'm thinking, you want to make deals with statists at the federal level, maybe you'll get Ross free. Maybe you will. But you know, you're not really going to solve any big policy issues. The policies that got Ross in jail will still affect people.
Exactly.
It's kind of like saying, well, I think I can make a deal with a doctor one time to get a painkiller, but that doesn't actually solve the root cause. On top of that, I'm not necessarily crazy about any caucus right now.
Right.
Like, Trump is still bragging on social about his Operation Warp Speed thing that, you know, caused so much problems. And it's like, hey, you know, he still thinks that's it. I know people have just forgotten about that. You know, everybody was mad about that, and then they're cool with it. So it seems to me people have a very short-term memory.
Or they don't actually care about this stuff, and they just used it because it was populism.
Or that. And on top of that, I think people are going to wake up and realize that half of these promises they make are fake. That anarchists don't agree on everything, and we don't. And we get in arguments over dumb stuff, in my opinion. You know, like, oh, you know, should this be this property or that? Should we use technology or not? Should we, you know, fight over these distributions of resources, or how did this guy say, or my aunt? If we could just get over that and libertarians could work with each other, I think that would actually solve the problem more than just making, well, we have this caucus, we have this leadership, we have that. I'm like, look, listen, if you want actual less government, you know, let's do that. And it's even funny, Phil and Jack were talking about this today, that like RFK's solution is, oh, okay, well, we can just ban high fructose. We can just ban the bad ingredients. And like, but those bad ingredients come because, in my opinion, tariffs make it expensive to get cane sugar. So why not use high fructose corn syrup? So how about you just get the government out of health, get the government out of education, you actually get the government out of every possible thing at the local level. And then that will trickle down to the federal level.
Right.
That'll be better.
Right.
To what we're doing here. I don't know what the hell we're doing here It seems I'd even be skeptical of the classical liberal caucus at this point, because it seems every caucus says we're going to do this, this, and this, and this. We're going to save the day. And then once it becomes, I'll say, politically savvy, politically, there's some feasibility to reach out to some major, they do it.
Right.
It's not a crazy thing here. Terra DeSisto and XR were giving money to Act Blue. Really, they're donating some stuff to it. So I'm like, okay, the Libertarian Party's donating the Democrats. We got to stop this. Now, Classical Liberal Caucus is saying, hey, the Mises guys cut out to Trump. In the way. And, now they're going to take it back. It just seems to me like one big circle jerk. Like, okay, you did the bad thing. And I'm sure they can get corrupted after a while. I don't see a point to doing any of this. The only thing I want to do is actual decentralization, not playing these games. So
real quick, John, do you mind turning your volume down a little bit? I think there might have been an echo.
Is that better?
Probably. Kareem.
Trying to figure out where that was coming from.
And I would say this. The thing Keith posted, that the thing Jeremy improved upon, that the thing I want to fix up a little bit so it's not super anti-ANCAP, is actually a good political compass, because it asks questions. And I think if you showed enough people that little resource, you could change stuff, because it asks questions. Well, do I really believe in this? I don't think very many people would end up on Tanky, or, I think a lot of people would end up probably. I answered all the questions. I like that little resource. I ended up on Platformist and then Syndicalist a few times. So, yeah.
So,
I think that unfortunately compass tests seem to lead way too many people to believe that they lean libertarian when they actually don't. Like,
Well,
they seem biased towards making people think that they're a lot more,
that's why
freedom
I think
oriented than they actually are.
I think it depends on how exactly it's used, because I think it really depends on if we were just doing this, whether we're just jacking ourselves off, or whether it's like actually being used to question and think about, oh, is this the kind of thought I want to go forward with? If it's just a party game, it's just a party game. And people will just use it and say, oh, I guess I'm this label, but not really think about it. It's for certain.
Can we all agree that the Nolan chart sucks?
Oh yeah, fuck the Nolan chart.
Sucks. But here's the
The
problem.
world's smallest political is, oh hey, congratulations, you're a libertarian, you should join us.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
everybody's a libertarian.
I love they'll always give you this line, oh, everyone is a libertarian, they just don't know it. Look, do you know how badly I wish that were true? Unfortunately,
Yeah,
it's not. Vast majority of people
I think a lot of
stated.
people are, though. A lot of people would agree with libertarian stuff and then just vote for
They
something.
agree with the parts that they personally like, and then as soon as they encounter something that they don't like, suddenly they're okay with the force of the state.
It's like that line.
Yeah.
It's like that line from "We're from America" by Marilyn Manson. We believe in everything we say, and we said it because we believe it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. But I think that little chart that he posted, is actually pretty good.
Right. Well, but you seem to disagree that the Nolan chart is bad.
Can we put it on screen?
Okay.
I don't think it's
great.
Because I need to look more closely at it.
I'll briefly, I guess, I'll share my screen. I'll see if I can get a good slice here. I've got way too much going on all the time, so let me.
I always have 500 tabs open.
I have about 7,000 open right now, and I'm not exaggerating.
On my phone, I have gone through 2 phones and not closed any tabs. I probably have thousands of them.
Yeah.
And I just keep opening a new one every time I need to look at something.
What is wrong with you people, first of all? Second of all, in regards to those kinds of quizzes,
Good
I think
question.
they're mainly useful as conversation starters. I guess that's the main thing. It's sort of like a quirky little conversation starter. But I think you do have to, if you are going to use those quizzes, you need to have deeper conversations that happen afterwards. You can't just, and it has to be deeper conversations that allow for questioning of certain like principles you hold, as well as, you know, having the people, other person be questioned on certain principles they hold, in order to try and find a way that makes it towards
All right.
freedom and like liberty and the well flourishing of all,
So
gearing it towards that direction.
John, I guarantee you're the type of person who only ever has one tab open.
I have like, if I'm going to have tabs, like multiple tabs open, it's because it's like I have to cross-reference a bunch of different documents, but usually I try to minimize it to maybe like 3 or 4 at the most.
I knew it. I knew you were that type.
So this is the Nolan chart. I don't know. Is it showing up?
Yep.
Yeah, it's showing up.
It's not showing up on my screen, so I didn't actually know. Like the Nolan chart is garbage. If you look at it, and people just follow along at home because it's not showing up in the thing. Like, it says that the two axes, left and right, have their positions on this axis where the further left you go and the further right you go, the more centrist you become on libertarianism and statism. And that's fucking bullshit. It means that you can be a far left, half libertarian, half authoritarian, and nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can be a far right, like, you know, half libertarian, half authoritarian, and nothing else. Like, you can't be on the far, and so the left and right don't mean anything at that point, because it's not as though you get greater economic freedom and not greater personal freedom, like the chart says here. It's garbage. And like, the more greater personal freedom you get, like, the more likely you are to be a far leftist up till the 50% mark, and then you get.
Yeah, go ahead.
Then you just, like, in order to get the rest of that 100%, you have to go all the way up to the libertarian thing. So you've got to be a centrist in order to be a libertarian, and then you've got to be a centrist in order to be a full authoritarian. It's garbage.
Right. And you have to be right. And believing in economic freedom means you have to be a conservative. Like, I think the best, my favorite political compass, if you have to judge things that way, is the one that has like the separate conservative progressive axis, because like, in theory, like, you can be economically like lean towards free markets and culturally conservative or culturally progressive.
Right.
Okay. Or you can, like, I mean, I've met socially conservative communists. They exist. So like, yeah, progressivism versus conservatism doesn't necessarily have any relation to your economic takes.
Right. And so that's so anybody else got any comments on the Nolan chart before we book on that part of the subject?
I think the Nolan chart is very nerdy and needs to go. It just makes us look like nerds. I don't think it really. I don't think it converts anybody. The LP has quite a few. The LP has quite a few sacred cows that need to go away, and I hope, you know, maybe with the Mises Caucus getting in there, some of them would go away. They also need to get rid of the porcupine and replace it with a lion.
Why?
Oh, I like porcupine.
What's that?
Lions are, like, lazy. Like, they'll leave the hunting to the lioness.
It's true, the lionesses do all the work, and then the males just saunter over and eat half the food.
Like, the porcupine makes sense because it'll only attack you if it's attacked. Lions don't make any sense to libertarianism at all.
Well, what animals? Well, Milei's using the lion.
Yeah, but Milei's also not a libertarian.
What about the honey badger?
He's won an election.
Okay, sure. Plenty of people won elections. We'll have that debate someday, but like, we've already had that debate on Kareem's channel, and I think the debate on biblical anarchy with Scott Scheller fairly well demonstrated that I'm pretty knowledgeable on that subject. So, the general gist, though, what?
Never mind.
What? No, go ahead.
So, like, generally speaking, the corruption, I think, primarily rests in that. I think it's like the Libertarian Party is throwing out Karen Harlow's because she did her fucking job. I made this video because I was irritated and also because I needed to go for a run anyway. I was sort of like walking on this like path in like Spokane because I go for runs around here. And I just pulled out my phone and I recorded this video because Angela was trying to say that like fucking Karen wanted her locked up for talking to Trump. Shut the fuck up.
She never said that.
Yeah.
She literally did not say that. Oh my god.
I
Like, that
confirmed
just
it with
seems
Carlos.
paranoid.
I asked her directly to double check. I confirmed it. I couldn't find anything where she said anything to the like for my own searches, and she said like she never said anything. So
Right.
it's like, and we have, McCardle has a history of not being transparent and of sort of fitting to say
Yeah.
Does anybody hate me? Does anybody want me in jail? I'm like, nobody wants you in jail.
Well, like,
yeah, Kareem, we all want you in jail.
Yeah, right.
Okay, cool.
So
yeah, I'm a hardened criminal. I'm an illegalist.
It's because you lied about being ANCAP man in Ancapistan when you've actually been ANSIND man this whole time. Okay,
Well, you can be both. You
want
can be
locked up.
pro-free market.
We want you locked up for fraud.
So, but
You can be both.
that's the thing. I recorded this video, right? I recorded this video, walking down this path, and people can watch it should they so choose. Just look up /insanity is free on Twitter and like look up no she isn't, because all I did was caption the video with that and then go into the like there are certain like conflicts of interest you have to disclose. There are certain things you can't do as a part of a political party. There are certain things you're not allowed to fucking do. I'm gonna email. I forgot to email this guy, but like I have mutual on Blue Sky who's a lawyer and an attorney and a previous like assistant attorney general, and he's also a law professor now. And he's gonna come on Wednesday to discuss the illegalities of all of this. And I've got to email him a bunch of briefs about the situation. But like the general thing that I said in this video was like conflicts of interest. You can't like if the CEO of Coke went and did deals to advertise with Pepsi, everybody would want that person off the board. It would be immediate choices. And it's the same thing here because she's on the board of a nonprofit. She can't just keep doing this stuff and supporting competing institutions that are bad for the active stated goals of the nonprofit. It's like a sober living facility subsidizing crack. It doesn't make any fucking sense. So like the real shit here is that Karen is one of those people holding them accountable for breaking rules. And so was, for instance, Dana Carver, who is, I'm sort of like, it would have been great for her to be here today to explain this herself. But she would also do this. She would also make sure that the bylaws were being followed. She would also try to hold them accountable. She would try to make sure that the constituency and electorate were actually being represented. And what did they do? They threw her out after a lengthy and in-secret show trial. And so this is the new way that these people operate, worse than the Sarwark administration. Worse.
It's the same thing.
It's worse. Because the Sarwark administration gave a little bit of money to Act Blue. These people funded multi-million-dollar Oppo rallies. The Sarwark administration bumped into and assaulted one person and then freaked out about that, right? But then this administration fucking literally worked with people who want to gay bash. Like, there are so many things that make this organization like a worse version, but just from a less like libby shitlib kind of perspective. And so to this place, if Sarwark did half of this stuff, especially in service of Harris, these people would run him out on a rail. But they don't do that with Angela because she's doing something they want. And that means that the manifestly much higher, exponentially greater levels of corruption in this administration are considered fine. Or at least something that they're not going to talk about.
I can't speak to that, but what I can say is, Both are bad.
Yeah.
Not really good at doing this. I don't mean, I don't know how much money they gave to Act Blue, but
Barely.
they didn't go and hang out with like Joe Biden or anything like that.
They didn't like secretly try to influence people to vote for Joe Biden.
Or
Yeah, I don't
from what I
know what
recall.
this Act Blue stuff is about. There's been so many lies going on. I mean, you know, did anybody watch the recap streams? Like Chase had a stream and Angela had a stream this week.
I was doing my own streams, so I haven't seen those yet.
Yeah, I know you shouldn't have,
I've seen clips in
you have
regards.
that stream. But you know, they actually came on. Angela and Jacob actually came on and talked about, well, Chase didn't do nearly as well as all these other candidates, and I wondered, did they not? No, this is actually something that happens all the time. You know, our Senate candidate here in Texas got, I think, 200,000 votes. Unfortunately, that happens all the time. The presidential candidate never does as well as the lower candidates on the ballot because the president is too important. And I'm like, did they know that that's what always happens? Because they wanted to say this was another reason why Chase ran a bad campaign.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah. Oh, local candidates did way better than. Yeah. No, that's completely normal. Like they'll be like, okay, I think at the local level I can afford to go for this guy, but yeah, president's just too important.
Yeah,
and
I've lost
count anyway, so
I
I'm
don't
voting
know.
for the blah blah blah.
Sometimes there's a part of me that does wonders. Maybe they really are this stupid.
I think it's malicious, but that's me.
Yeah.
You have
There
to.
there are definitely people out there who do not think Angela is a smart person. You know.
I think
I really
When it
did
comes
want to
to Andrew,
support her strategies.
I
I was a believer for a long time, so it's
Well,
just
a lot of people want
frustrating.
fame. Like, I hate to say this, like, you know, a lot of people say, you know, I don't like this person, I don't like that person, but like I've heard some people, and I don't particularly hate them, but let's say like you're like, okay, I'm gonna go on Joe Rogan. If Joe Rogan invited you on, you're like, okay, maybe he said
I
some
would go
things
on, but I would not be.
I'd definitely go on.
I would not be docile because I disagree with him in a variety of ways, and I am.
But are you ever? So you just
No,
be your
actually.
normal self, basically.
Yeah, but like that's the thing. Like, you know, for instance, he had Adam Conover on, and Adam was, let's just say, pretty like he's on the money about everything that he said in that appearance there. But Joe Rogan didn't Joe Rogan didn't like what he had to say, and so it didn't matter what the science actually was. It didn't matter what things were actually proven, and it didn't matter what Adam's argument was. He would get routinely interrupted and bowled over. I would get louder.
Yeah, see, I think
I don't know if anybody remembers
maybe
that.
that's an exception. I think a lot of people are just like, hey, fame. We can have 10 minutes of fame. Ooh, Trump thinks we're cool. Oh, great. You know, we're going to be Trump fans now because he thinks we're. I heard people say that. They're like, Kareem, just go with it.
Yeah.
The first time a president has acknowledged us, a former president, he could win. You know, maybe he ain't that bad.
I got talked into it too.
He's reaching out to us. Go see him. Give him a chance. And I'm like, I feel like this is bullshit. But they're like, come on, just why you got to be like that? Like maybe he's gonna do this, that, or the other. And I said, no, I highly doubt it. What is gonna happen most likely is he's gonna say, hey, vote for me. And he was even condescending. He's like, all you guys do is get 3%. Why don't you nominate me and then vote for me? Only if you want to win. Only if you want to win now. So I'm like, okay, you come to the thing, insult us, and then we're supposed to want to vote for you.
It's so
Then
exhausting.
on top of that,
Remember though, like we had so many people saying, "Oh, we can finally get a chance to have a dialogue and hold him accountable." And I'm like,
yeah,
that's
they're like, oh, I'll hold him
happen. It's just going to be a
accountable.
campaign stuff.
where have they held him
right?
accountable?
Right. I had
For
so
warp
many
speed.
people insist that like we were going to get to have some kind of dialogue with him. I'm like, that's not how it's going to work. Okay, I was actually
Angela
happy
McConnell had a
him to
dialogue.
like not even attend in person and the whole thing to just be like him addressing the delegation remotely. Okay, that turned out to not be the case. He actually did appear in person, but yeah, I'm like that. Would just be
Yeah,
too
well,
funny.
you know,
Yeah, it was a campaign stop.
one
for
could
him.
almost say that he grabbed Angela by the pussy. So
Oh,
I was going to say, it's kind of interesting that Dave Smith is friends with Rogan, because you know who else who was friends with Rogan a while back was Molyneux. I don't know what happened there, but they had some kind of falling out. Molyneux hasn't been on Rogan in over 10 years, I don't think.
Well, I know
I
Dave
wonder
Smith
if that'll
used to
I wonder
talk
if
to
that'll
him,
happen with
but
Dave
like he
Smith and
went.
Rogan.
Well, Molyneux went just like total like MAGA, and then he also became like, or maybe he always was. I
And
never
Dave
actually
Smith is
followed.
not
He became a
and Dave
race
Smith is not
realist.
MAGA.
Yeah, didn't he
Yeah.
become pretty I remember
He
listening to
became
Molyneux.
a racialist. Yes, he sort
pretty
of
much.
like very leaned hard he leaned hard without necessarily like going full Nazi. He very leaned hard in regards to certain white supremacist rhetoric.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Then
he's like,
and then like
well,
his
these
support kind of dropped
people-
off. I just remember the video of him getting angry at a supporter for sending him only
$5?
$1. It's
Yeah.
like, what a douchebag. It's like, okay, it's better than nothing, right? You're gonna go on there and insult your audience because they didn't send you enough donation money.
Yep.
I think he also had it where he gave like he gave like psychological advice, or like mental health advice to someone who is debating whether they should cut off their like mother entirely without like, and because his wife had like a PhD that or like she had like some medical license or medical practice for like psychotherapy or psychology. That license got revoked. I'm not sure if it was in connection to this specifically, but basically what Molyneux did was sort of did what you're not supposed to do in regards to like therapy, and like he did what you're not supposed to do, and basically he argued basically for the guy to cut off his mother entirely, because what was the crime of the mother? She chose some bad people to date. And that caused issues at home, which like
he had this.
Is that something you blame the mother for necessarily? No, it's an issue. She has to take some responsibility, but you don't cut off your mother entirely, especially when there is a chance for reconciliation. When the dude was thinking, let me give my mother a chance because she's trying to do better. Molyneux was like, no, cut her off entirely.
Wow.
It's this thing that he had going for a while there. And it's called defu, disconnect from family of origin.
Yes, that was something that was advertised by his wife, I think, a good amount, and that's sort of partly why she got her license revoked, I believe, because it's not medical, it's not sound medically.
And of course, that's why it got his stuff called cults, because telling people, I mean, I could maybe understand if you had intimate knowledge of one person's case and you were like, "Yo, this is actually really bad, and you shouldn't do this." You should. Right. But like, he would just routinely have people call in and be like, "Yeah, fuck that, cut it off."
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's a very case by case kind of thing.
You got to really know it too.
He was not really like prepared to be giving psychological advice.
Ain't rigorous.
Yeah, he's not a psychologist. Also, my problem with him is, okay, fine, the MAGA stuff is one thing, but I guess he was like, hey, in IQ ranges, I'm not even going to bring up, said in IQ ranges, certain people weren't, I say, well-equipped or whatever. They kept pushing that and pushing that and pushing that. And I'm like, aren't you supposed to treat people like individuals? Like, okay, you can even say there's certain IQs based on country, but I felt he just kept pushing the IQ thing.
Well, yeah, because that corresponds with the race, with the racialism he was trying to push. The sort of quote unquote scientific racism that he was trying to push. That's why the whole IQ thing is like IQ thing.
You're right there, Dave Smith. Molyneux was pushing a lot of stuff Dave Smith doesn't push. Yeah. Although there really isn't a whole lot of difference between Molyneux and Kaufman.
That's correct too. Yeah.
Well,
definitely not.
There are some differences, and the reason I'll say that is Kaufman, he does the brashness for brashness' sake. Stefan does try to be academic. He's written a
Yeah, he tries
significant.
to be all intellectual about it.
Yeah, Kaufman just there to
But that's
He's
actually
not shock jock.
that's actually a good thing, because it means that if you can counter Stefan's sources, you might be able to convince his audience. Kaufman doesn't do that shit for the vast majority of the part. If you even ask him to, he'll say, "No, I'm not going to effort post. Go fuck yourself." And then like if you do counter him on the actual merits of his points, he'll block you, like Kaufman will.
Actually, Karen Ann was posted earlier about his bait and switch tactics that he does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, like, Molyneux, on the other hand, to his credit, has actually spoken with me before, and to my knowledge, we're still even Facebook friends. And so, like, he has done the opposite of that. He actually leans into the "I don't want to build an echo chamber" thing. So, at least there's that. You know, there's a significant enough difference between the two in terms of approach and in terms of not being a bitch that I'll acknowledge. Molyneux is not a bitch. He will definitely talk to you and confront what you're saying, and he will do it with his normal like vigor and anger. I disagree with him very strongly on a series of subjects, but he's not a bitch.
Yeah.
Kaufman is a bitch.
Yeah, Kaufman's a troll. I don't think Kaufman is trying to be serious on anything. Molyneux was trying to be the internet intellectual for a while, and he was a good anarcho-capitalist for a while. I actually did think. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe he was lying the whole time. Maybe he was a grifter. Or maybe he wasn't. You know, it's hard to know if somebody was generally trying to do good or if, you know, they had a plan all along to grift, or I don't know. You know, who knows?
Right.
Because Chase Rachel's actually called that out. I don't know what happened to Chase Rachel's.
He never did unsuck that dick.
Chase Rachel's or Stefan Molyneux?
We're talking. So there's. I guess that joke falls flat. I guess I'm just old, but Chase Rachel's is famous for saying you can unsuck a dick. Because like somebody was saying you can't unsuck a dick, and he was saying here's how you do that, and like that became a joke for a significant period of time. I believe that's how that originated. But he also posted and did a bunch of books in favor of purges of the left, and had like feminists, LGBT people, and Antifa hanging from helicopters on the front of his book.
Right, it was bad enough that even Hoppe didn't want to write the foreword, but apparently he already had it mostly written, and it ended up getting used against his consent anyway.
Yeah,
like when Hoppe won't even write you a foreword, you're probably not libertarian in any way.
Yeah, and you know, it's when Hoppe and I agree on Javier Milei, it might be a time to reconsider.
That was interesting.
Walter Block.
Self-proclaimed Hoppians were all in on Milei, so that was some interesting cognitive dissonance right there.
Yeah, and then when he's like, "Yeah, you know, maybe we should reconsider this shit," they're like, "Nah, you know what? I'm no longer a Hoppian. I'm best friends with Hoppe ended. It's now Javier Milei friendship." It's like that meme. So okay, this is running close to 2 hours. What I'll say, like, so the general corruption is there's been a lot of money and power and privilege and prestige that's been coming out of being associated with certain groups and people. That's something Trump has always been able to do. He wrote The Art of the Deal and told people how to like basically, as long as you can keep people entertained, it doesn't matter what you do, and you can just get away with it because you kept people entertained, especially doing certain things while they're entertained that make them part of your process. This is what he's doing. People should read The Art of the Deal. It is fascinating because it's basically a narcissistic manipulation tactic manual. And if you read The Art of the Deal, you'll find out why he is the way he is and why he's worked so well to swoon people like Angie. And now all of it's coming back to roost while people are like, you know, oh, you know what? Maybe he's going to put in neocons. Maybe he's going to put in the same cabinet that he had before. Maybe it's not fucking changed at all. Wow, that would be stunning.
So, come on, he put Kelsey in.
It's not like some of us didn't warn them. Imagine,
Yeah, literally the people posting, "Oh, well, he made a deal with Angela. He made a deal. He made a deal." And when Nick Gillespie,
what leverage?
what make me defend Nick Gillespie? I'm not a fan of Nick Gillespie. I don't really care for Reason that much. I feel Reason is kind of a Koch-funded edge, like corporate edge lord, libertarian type thing. I don't know exactly how to categorize it now, but I'm tired, so let's just say that. And Nick Gillespie asked Trump, "So you're going to free Ross, right?" He's like, So basically, he just heard us at the rally saying free Ross, and probably the Secret Service guy said, "Sir, say free Ross." You'd be okay. Free Ross, free Ross, guys. Woo, woo.
Pander.
It's literally like that cringy
It
thing.
sounded like he didn't. It sounded like he hadn't heard of him, but probably just like quickly read the Wikipedia article before going on stage.
Free Ross.
Hey, at least now we know what at least now we know if Trump was a furry, what his persona would be. He's a panda bear.
Yeah,
Pokemon, Hillary said, "Pokemon go to the polls."
Yeah.
Let's let Chris talk a bit.
Yeah, go for it.
This is a good tweet from Richard Hanania. Trump's magic is Trump's magic is in part his ability to fool people who have bad forecasting ability into believing he is on their side. Yep. Imagine sitting there waiting for Tulsi Gabbard at defense and Douglas McGregor as national security advisor. No one else could have pulled this off. And this was in response to a tweet from Dave Smith.
Mm-hmm. And what did Dave Smith say?
I don't think Dave had a response to this.
Well, no, what did Dave Smith say before that?
There's a lot of talk about the coming. There's a lot of talk about the coming appointments after the excellent decisions to box out Pompeo and Haley. Trump followed up with a horrible UN pick. We need to keep the pressure going.
Yeah.
And then list people he wants, like Rand Paul and Douglas McGregor and Tulsi Gabbard, and just it's a
go.
Yeah.
Go.
It's really amazing how these people manage to make themselves into useful idiots.
Yeah, like I posted his cabinet list, and then somebody said, "Well, give us your list," implying that I couldn't have like an actual. And so I said, okay. Thomas Massie as Secretary of State, Cornel West as the UN Ambassador, Ron Paul as the Secretary of Treasury, Snowden as National Security Advisor, Abby Martin as Press Secretary, Bernie Sanders Chief of Staff, Justin Amash Deputy Chief of Staff, Spike Cohen Secretary of Defense, and Naomi Brockwell Department of Government Efficiency. And he didn't have anything to say to that list. And when somebody did, when somebody said totally realistic, I said, this was fantasy football. My team kicks ass. Not my problem that reality would be different, and I'll never be president to do draft picks. And he said, okay, hell of a draft. A+ grades from the experts.
That's the go-to response, though.
Naomi would never go to work for Trump because
you're not going to get what you negotiated for. Oh, well, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm. People are dickheads. Someone's like, Kareem, you couldn't nominate anybody better to the Supreme Court. Who'd you do? I'm like, all right, 0.5 seconds. Judge Jim Gray. They're like, who's that? And they're like, oh, he's based. Yeah, he is based. If you know who that is.
I don't.
It's not that. He ran with Gary Johnson the first time.
You know, it's always a good political policy to be able to have a campaign slogan like "I'm with Johnson." I'm grabbing Johnson.
I'm with Johnson. We should bring Gary back.
It was Feel the Johnson.
Yeah,
this was also during the Feel the Burn era.
I said Feel the Johnson in a few places and made people sad with that.
Yeah.
You know, I had a few
really catch on because it only lasted like a week, but
I got to see Jim Babka this weekend and I had some interesting talks with him. He was involved with Harry Brown back in, which was probably the peak for the LP.
Yeah.
He didn't really think the Mises Caucus actually did a talk with him once because it sounded like the Mises Caucus was really interested. They said, "Hey Jim, what were you guys doing back then?" And they let him talk and the question as to whether or not this was all a plan from the beginning to me is still up in the air, but I definitely don't like the way they're acting. It's
Yeah,
whether
well,
or not
it's like you get with like Deere says, how can they put pressure on Trump? He already got what he wanted. Exactly.
Yeah, I've tried to explain this to people. Okay,
Yeah, this is getting
the election was shaping up to be close enough that he needed all the votes he could get. Libertarians represented a significant enough voting bloc that he needed those votes. So, okay, you make a deal with the chair of the largest third party to try to get them to push their to push their people towards voting for you. Then once you've been reelected and it's your second term, though, then what? What leverage does that person still have? None.
Exactly.
Unless she happens to be in possession of images of him engaging in particular activities at Epstein Island, she does not have leverage.
Yeah, and you know what she does have is cab fare. It's in the nightstand.
That's
millions of dollars and unfettered access to one of the biggest communications platforms on the planet. What did he get? He got this symbolic, not actually a department, but calling itself a department thing. Like, okay, that's how the game is played.
Mm-hmm.
But, okay, Angela can tell Trump what he should do all she wants, but the establishment is going to tell him what he will do.
Yeah, she's just over here like, no, you did the wrong thing, and he's like, yeah, I did,
Angela,
bitch. What the fuck are you gonna do about it?
Well, his response is, now who are you again?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me ask you a question on that, because how do you know Trump didn't plan to? This is the problem I have. People don't understand this. I explained this a million times, and people don't seem to get it, which is this. The way the game is played in America is that you have to get a certain amount of votes to get the electoral college to win. So you have to tell people what they want to hear.
Allegedly.
But to actually run, and I know this, even to run for state, I'm like, I'll run for state. They're like, Kareem, do you have 200 grand disposable?
Yep.
I'm like, maybe in crypto, but not yet. They're like, well, you need 200 grand. I'm like, well, how do I get that? They're like, get donations. If someone gives me $100,000, I hate to say it, even if you want to do the right thing, even if you're compelled,
there's never no strings attached. Okay?
Yeah. No one just likes you. No one just likes you to, what did Miriam Adelson want? Oh, and I told Bill Cox this. He's going to do what his donors want. I don't even think it's this, people want to go alien conspiracy. I'm like, no, it's not that hard. Look, listen. Fuzzer gave him $1 million. All of a sudden, he likes their product. Miriam Adelson gave him millions of dollars. Oh, hey, look, his cabinet's all pro-war. Most of them are pro-Israel, all that stuff. It's not hard to figure out that someone's going to give you money. Someone's going to want something. You're going to use that to campaign. The only thing I will say, Trump has a unique case where I think his net worth is $5 billion. Even if he took $1 billion out to campaign, he's not going to be. He can still afford Mar-a-Lago and steaks with ketchup and all his other stupid stuff. So he could actually have ran by himself, self-funded, and listened to Angela. But I'm like, no. Look at his donors. He'll do what. You don't have leverage. Miriam Adelson has leverage. She gave him $100 million. And even if we combine everybody's income in the LP, I don't think we're going to come up with $100 million. I just don't, even with Lars, making movies overtime. So that's how it is. He's going to do what the donors want him to do. And I knew that was going to happen. And I'm just kind of watching this play out in real time, laughing at it.
Right.
The only thing I think we can do, and this is me not being a dick, is like, Angela, look, here. I think, if you still want to be on the right side of history, I don't know. I don't know if they just want to keep grifting, or I don't know if they want to say, hey, we're done with the guy. If they do, I think that's good. But hey, let's actually work with the people building what Anarch calls dual power structures. I know me and Anarch don't agree on the private-public property thing. Who cares? His thing was, you join gun clubs, you do this, you do local action, you join this, you build communities. I don't care if it's a Discord community or a real community. Eventually you have to build a real community, though. And then you build a lot of those, and then if those work well, then the state becomes obsolete, and you build them from the ground up. I had arguments with people who also said, well, Kareem, you have to do it from top down. You can't do it from bottom up. And that's my biggest contention. I think you can. I think we have to do that, or we're not going to win. And I want to get either Mises or the classical liberal caucus. I don't feel like caucuses just taking over the party till the end of time is going to be a big deal. We're playing like ants fighting on an anthill. What we need to do is actually work with other anarchists and people who you would consider anti-state radicals, as long as they're not hurting other people, or as long as they're not just openly malicious. That is how I am convinced that is how we win. We don't win by trying to tell Trump that, oh, hey, man, we like you, we think you're cool, or hey, we can make a deal with you. Because of course I even told Austin, he's like, well, Trump's being nice to people. Of course he's going to be nice. He wants to get your vote. He wants to get your support. And maybe he is maybe so, like Obama was a nice guy too. George Bush, I'm sure, is a nice guy.
There are very fine people on both sides.
They're very fine people. He's the kind of guy, you remember in 2001, why did we get Bush? He's the kind of guy you want to have a beer with. That's what I heard. I'm like, yeah, and then take the beer and bash his skull. So in Minecraft. So that's my contention is, yeah, politicians want you to like them, so they get your support. They're going to be friendly, and then they're going to go do what their donors want, and they're going to just go, I don't remember saying anything about Ross. Come on. I didn't really mean that. Free Ross sounds a whole lot to me like
appeasement.
Appeasement. It sounds like a whole lot to me. Lock her up, lock Hillary up. And then, the election. Well, she did some bad things. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to think about it. And then all these images, videos pop up, and I could go conspiratorial with them at the Vatican, a Jesuit conference, getting along with good old Hill, saying, hey, the plebs really liked it. Man, I bet you still when the cameras are off, he's fist bumping Hillary and Lindsey Graham's fist bumping Kamala, and it's all one big bipartisan thing. And Mike Johnson, to me, is no better than Nancy Pelosi. So he's just basically the crazy Christian version. I
hate to interrupt. It's a bit late for me, so I think I'm going to call it early for me.
All right, yeah, and we'll be booking soon. But real quick, before you go, I just want you to hear this thing that I'm going to read, because I think that this is a valuable thing to read. So, for the establishment has many levels, as shown in this chart. The national establishment USA, these levels may be divided functionally. At the apex of strategic guidance are overseers. Among these are the President of the United States and those who assist him as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces and in other roles. But these people cannot run things by themselves. They have the help of a larger group of executive managers, who are in turn assisted by a much larger number of junior and contingent members. Below these levels are the rest of the country's social structure, the middle and lower classes of the population, in their roles as employees, self-employed, consumers, taxpayers, homeowners, and tenants. The number of people actively involved, even at the very top, is too large for any meeting or convention hall. Robert Townsend, who headed Avis before it became swallowed by ITT, has made this estimate, quote, America is run largely by and for about 5,000 people who are actively supported by 50,000 beavers eager to take their places. I arrive at this figure this way. Maybe 2,500 megacorporation executives, 500 politicians, lobbyists and congressional committee chairmen, and 500 investment bankers, 500 partners in major accounting firms, 500 labor brokers. If you don't like my figures, make up your own. End quote. I am convinced his figures are far too small. If there are 4,000 to 6,000 at the top, they are probably able to deploy at least 5 times that many in executive management. who in turn operate through at least 10 times as many junior and contingent members. My total ranges between a quarter and a third of a million. Even without adding their dependents, this is a far cry from a small handful of people. Yet, relative numbers, this large number of people. Yet, in relative numbers, this large number of people is still a few. A third of a million people numbers less than 0.2% of the U.S. population of about 220 million. This was written like decades ago. And with their immediate family members, this would still be less than 10%. It is less than 1/100% of the free world under the shared leadership of the United States. Seldom, if ever, has such a small number of people done so much to guide the destiny of so many over such vast expanses of the planet. There are conflicts at all levels. Most of these are rooted in divergent or clashing interests, values, perceptions, and traditions. Some are minor, others are major. Many minor crises at various points in the establishment are daily occurrences, surprising only the uninitiated. But, quote, whenever we are prepared to talk about a deep political crisis, as Papandreou observes, quote, we should assume that the establishment as a whole is undergoing a crisis, either because of internal trouble, namely because of some of its members have seen fit to alter their relative position within the coalition, or because of external trouble, because another challenger has risen who wants a share of the power. End quote. The bulk of these conflicts are resolved through bargaining, accommodation, market competition, and government decision-making, particularly through bureaucratic channels. A few more come to the surface through the legislative, judicial, or electoral processes. Coherence is provided not only through these procedures for conflict adjustment, but also by large areas of partially shared interests, values, and ideologies. But it is constantly changing. If the establishment were a mere defender of the status quo, it would be much weaker. While some of its members may resist many changes or even want to turn the clock back, the dominant leaders know that change is essential to preserve, let alone expand power. Quote, if we want things to stay as they are, the young nephew said to his uncle the prince in Lampedusa's The Leopard, quote, things have got to change. Do you understand? If we want things to stay as they are, things have got to change. Do you understand? Power holders may not understand this at once, but events drive the point home to them or drive them out. Thus, many of the changes occur in the membership of the establishment, which at any point may expand or contract. If the establishment is a target, it is, in Leonard Silk's apt words, for the, quote, overall corporate government complex, a, quote, moving target. There is no single central conspiracy. I agree with Karl Popper when he says conspiracies occur. It must be admitted, but the striking fact which, in spite of their occurrence, disproves the conspiracy theory is that few of these conspiracies are ultimately successful. Many of them have consequences entirely or partly unintended or unforeseen. Popper adds the observation that the successful ones rarely come to public attention, and that there is usually a situational logic that transcends any conscious planning. When there is a fire in an auditorium, people do not get together to plan what to do. The logical response to the situation is to get out. Some will do it in an orderly fashion. Some others may rough toward people who get in their way. The establishment operates this way often. Some of its most historic achievements have been forced on it by the fires that break out suddenly, often unanticipated. The major advances in the welfare state, for example, have historically been opposed by most elements in capitalist establishments who were usually too stupid or nearsighted to realize that these measures would put a floor or elevator under market demand, thereby promoting the accumulation of corporate capital and taking the sting out of anti-capitalist movements. And then it goes into what the ultra-rich do. This is more from Friendly Fascism. I'm slowly indoctrinating people into this book, because it's something that people need to understand. This book is the key to understanding how things are now. People should read it. I thought you would enjoy that, John, before you hit it.
No, it's good reading. I'm not sure I fully understood, just because brain not working, tired. So.
Well, I'll just say what my mother used to quote. Dogs have fleas, and fleas have fleas on their backs to bite 'em. The lesser fleas have greater fleas, and so ad infinitum. Or greater fleas have lesser fleas. It's basically just like there's always somebody trying to manage some element of this for their own gain.
Right.
So before you book, and we'll be doing probably closing statements relatively soon, because this has been going for nearly 2 hours. before you book, do you want a closing statement about the Libertarian Party corruption before we call it subject wise for the next bit? Because the next streams are going to primarily be about theory and things like relative subjects that come up, like things that are in the news. Because the Libertarian Party corruption means much less now. Now they're just throwing cupcake parties for Donald Trump. It's much less.
We still have not gotten confirmation as to whether that's real or not. And what's so funny, any previous chair had tweeted that, it would have been an obvious joke. But in this case, no one can tell.
Exactly.
In regards to the whole Libertarian Party, people need to clean house. That's really the main thing. The party needs to clean house in regards to what exactly they want from a Libertarian National Committee. They need to change things in regards to, if they need to change the bylaws to make the parties more accountable and more have the chairs be more accountable. If you need to make a whole, even if it's a greater expense, you need to make a whole fucking other committee to just be in charge of making sure that the Libertarian National Committee doesn't violate any of its bylaws and acts in a way that it has the power to do that. I don't know exactly what needs to be done, but house has got to be clean and there has to be some reorganization. I would hope the reorganization would lead to greater focus, not just in one direction or the other, but in diversifying directions and allowing for federation, decentralization, where people can do their own things in a way that they can coordinate with other people and be able to work together where need be, so as to actually have a functioning movement rather than one big social club.
You mean an actual decentralized revolution?
An actual decentralized revolution. If you want to hear more from me, you can check out Liberty Centuries. We go by Liberty Centuries on Medium, and we also go by @Liberty Centuries on Twitter. We might try diversifying social media later, but for now we're fine with those two. And I'll stay on for your closing statements, but I'm fucking tired, so
well,
we're all have a good night.
We should all be fucking tired, because at least we're getting laid.
Y'all have a good night.
Night.
So
I must have missed something exciting if
yeah.
We're all supposed to be fired for that particular reason.
Well, yeah, it's definitely some fucking happened. Yeah, I was fucking this
I always leave the room at the worst possible moment.
I was over here fucking this book again. People should read the book though. It's gonna be a core theme of mine, because if they do, they'll realize that they already set everything up before Bush to have it run exactly this way, and everybody likes to act like the Bush regime ended years and years ago. No, the fuck it didn't. It's still operating that way now. So I want to read a segment of that applies to the things that were discussed every time I do one of these, because I think most people ain't gonna read the fucking book, and that pisses me off. So, Friendly Fascism by Bertram Gross. But I guess we're in our closing statement mode. We'll start with Chris doing closing statements. We'll go Chris, Kareem, Rose, and then I'll throw something. I'll throw a hot dog down this hallway, and just closing statements regarding Libertarian Party corruption in general.
We didn't. I don't think a lot of Americans know about this, but the LP nationalists pissed off a lot of people around the world too. I think LPNH is part of that, but also just the way they relate to them. They pissed off Michael Svetov after he tweeted something about Navalny. Svetov is a major figure in Russian libertarian politics, somebody who really knows about PR too. But I don't know where. I hope the party can just survive long enough to get to Reno or get to Grand Rapids, and I feel like I have to try to make some effort to go back there, just because I was at least part of making this mess, although it wasn't what I ever thought it would be. Fortunately, Texas has never been ruined, so that's one good thing, and maybe this other state parties can, maybe the leaders in the state parties can help people rebuild their state parties, and we'll see what happens. So I'm on my podcast is the Fountainhead Forum. I've done 235 shows, and we talk about Javier Milei a lot. I haven't done anything. I might take a dive into some of this Mises Caucus stuff because Hornberger was involved with them early, and I'd like to know what happened with him. I know.
Yeah, I supported him being the candidate. I wish he'd been the candidate a second time.
Jake Lloyd is another person who was involved early who isn't happy with how things on.
Yeah, he and his wife were just unceremoniously banned recently, despite still being featured in pictures on their website.
It's also very interesting to see how Tom Woods was so interested in the LP and he's completely lost interest. I mean, does the Reno Reset happen without Tom Woods' support on podcasts? I don't know if it does.
Dave Smith, honestly, he got involved, but then he seems to have distanced himself from the party overall. I'm not going to downplay he does very well with the Libertarians.
No, they don't like how the party's going.
Because he has a lot of very large platforms, and he's just I generally do like most of what he has to say. However, he seemed to have distanced himself from the party itself over the past couple of years since the Reno Reset.
Yeah. Can you imagine after the World Series, the Yankees going out around saying, "Oh, the Dodgers suck. The Dodgers are lousy. The Dodgers are this, that. The Dodgers are horrible. The Dodgers are bad." And yet that's exactly what Rechtenwald supporters are doing about Chase. I mean, that's like a 5-year-old. It's I don't know if it has been as bad, but I think some of Chase's supporters would have been just as bad if Rechtenwald got it.
Oh, I'm sure. But the thing is that, if state parties had, if Rechtenwald had been the nominee and state parties had refused to put him on the ballot, I feel like the response from leadership would have been a lot different.
I don't know if that would have happened. I don't know if state parties would have refused to put him on the ballot, but who knows?
Yeah. This is sort of sore loser behavior that we were making fun of the other side for in 2022.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that whole thing just rubbed me the wrong way. The whole last minute instruction to vote NOTA after Rechtenwald was eliminated in the final round. I'm because there was no plan ahead of time for that. That was just very spur of the moment. And there was a lot of confusion as to what would actually happen. A lot of us were left thinking that there just wouldn't be a nominee at all. It turns out, they could have suspended the bylaws and nominated new candidates, but that was very unclear at the time. So we were left thinking, there's not going to be a candidate if we all vote NOTA. So it definitely seemed like there were people who were just willing to throw everything away because they didn't get their way. It came across as a very immature take our ball and go home tactic.
Fucking cloying, fucking corrupt bullshit.
And some of us just wanted to go to bed.
Oh yeah, it was I know. I remember I was struggling to keep my eyes open at that point. It was 1 a.m.
Let's get this
and some people, a lot of people
had
already left.
Get out of
here. They made the mistake of booking flights for that evening because they thought they'd be done by 7. Oh, and then there was the whole thing with the gala, all the food going to waste because no one got to go to the several $100 gala.
And then some of the parties funded gift baskets for the gala, and then I remember fucking the Libertarian Party of Michigan, they were trying to appropriate party funds to pay that back, because the person bought that out of his own pocket, and Dana was not having that because that's not what fucking party resources should be going to, is paying somebody back for a bad gamble. And the whole thing, that part of it was fucking hilarious because nobody wants to watch Libertarians dance. Go fuck yourself. Yeah, I want to see fucking Jocelyn Glaybach go for a fucking tango on the stage. No, thank you.
You really don't?
What?
Yeah,
no.
That's where
okay.
Yeah. Angela does want to have roasts, which I think is a fantastic idea. We ought to do it once a month and turn a roast into a fundraiser. Do something that's fun.
Yeah, but with the way these people
did that at Pork Fest.
Yeah, but with the way that these people have been, let's just say taking the sausage, there are plenty of roasties around.
Oh God.
Anyway, the general so we'll start to do closing statements. We'll do Chris, then Kareem, then Rose. Um, and like, I guess for yours, get into that, like, how much this has been pissing off the international community. Have you talked to a lot of them, or just that guy?
I think some of my Polish friends aren't very happy with them. Some of my friends in Soccer Vela really aren't very happy with them, or as we call it, Georgia. They're not looking good internationally. So yeah, it's not looking good right now. But I don't know how much. There's a group called the International Association of Libertarian Parties, and they were, and we had like a meeting or two with them, and there hasn't been a meeting since. I don't know what's happened with that. I haven't asked Angela about it. I don't really say much to Angela anymore because I just kind of let it go.
So is that it?
Yeah, that's it. That's my closing statement. We'll see what happens. I'm at the Liberty International World Conference. This is a good group of people. Next year they're in Buenos Aires. They happen to be in DFW this year, so they were actually close to home for me. So
Cool.
I can't wait to get off here and go to bed.
Gotcha. Kareem. And also, we can't see you, so I'm going to assume that while you're doing your statement, you're jacking off onto the table.
Yeah, I'm beating my wiener. I don't have a shirt on.
The rules if your camera's off.
Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
I thought you were proud of your carnivore diet. Why don't you show us your gains?
Yeah, all right.
Like, we're all dudes here. It's fine.
Yeah, doing the shirtless podcast. So anyway, I have no shirt on, but you can find me at Cream6633 on X. I am gonna be on Blue Sky, I guess, because everyone's doing it. So might as well do what everybody else is doing. I'm also on Mastodon. I'm gonna be having a stream with It Has to Be Said at the end of the month. Should be good. And on top of that, check out Mad Liberty. Check out attackthesystem.com and Anarch Unity. And other than that, it seems, at least to me, that whatever the Libertarian Party does, whichever caucus takes over, it's not going to make much of a difference. I mean, we can talk about it all day, like, hey, if this guy gets in, if we get classical liberal, if we get Mises, if we get this dude, that dude, and the other, if we can't work together, it doesn't matter. To me, it's kind of, making the old, same as the old boss, and they'll fail at it too. So the only way I see it is actual unity. And if we can convince the membership to do that, and I'm more than willing to talk to Angela and see if she come on these podcasts if we schedule it, because I like to schedule stuff too, and say like, hey, what was the actual reasoning behind this? Why did you do what you did? And actually see what it is. Because I could be totally wrong. I could be saying, yeah, I think this person did this because of this, and this, and then they're like, no, that wasn't my motive at all. Maybe I thought Trump was cool, or maybe it was for relevance. I think it was for relevance because a lot of people were saying that. So I don't know.
All right, Rose.
I would like to say, because I've seen a lot of people catastrophizing over recent happenings in the Libertarian Party, saying, oh, well, we're not even going to have a party in 2 years. Okay, I don't think the party itself is going anywhere. If this party started out doing its conventions in someone's living room, okay, worst case scenario, it goes back to being small and non-influential for a few years. But it's still going to exist, okay? The party has been through many phases, okay? It's gone through multiple takeovers. It's gone through multiple strategies. It's still eventually come out the other side, regardless of what happens. So Libertarian Party's not going anywhere. In case anybody needed a white pill, I'm actually being optimistic for once over this. Otherwise, yeah, you can find me on Facebook, Discord, all the usual. Pretty sure you all know where to find me by now. That's about it for this evening.
All right. So what I'll say is this, and I'll make it short, because I literally read part of a book. But the general thing is, start taking people seriously when they voice concerns. start understanding the actual trade-offs. Because, the Libertarian Party needs to reorganize its understanding of its own approach. Because it has been very, very good at throwing people under the bus for a really long time. And, when it comes down to it, that's not an effective way to operate. Like the Democrats, let's just assume, okay, because here's the other half of it. I'm a cynical asshole. I think this whole system is rigged. I doubt voting even fucking works. But if it does, and if you can win, the Democrats just lost. So, you need to not do what they did. You need to not do what the Republicans did when they lost in 2020. And I'm emphasizing that because the tantrum throwers are real bold right now. And you need to understand that if you replicate this, you'll fail. So, when Kareem talks about not doing the infighting, first off, there's some of that needs to happen, obviously. But when Trump talks about not doing that and actually getting on some message here and moving things forward, understand that if you don't do that, if you're not willing to make actual coalitions, and by that I mean with your whole party, your party is already piss tiny. So understand that, and understand that if you fracture that, you're losing whatever power you could have had for yourself and giving it to somebody else. Now, if you're a whore and you're totally fine with doing that, then sure, fine, do that. Sell out, throw your actual constituents under the bus in promotion of a fascist who promotes gun control, drug control, sex control, general control over the economy, a massive unregulated, unrestricted police state, a militarist agenda that bombs the shit out of them, in his words, that assassinates generals and leaves American girls bleeding out in the neck, that puts his Bible up that's not even his, that he borrowed for a second so that he could pretend to be Christian near a riot that was happening. Let's be super real here. This man is a demagogue. This man is a rapist, very, very, on the record. This man is a felon. This man is guilty of, associations with Jeff Epstein, of boosting the Netanyahu regime and giving him a blank check in 2025. This man is guilty of everything that the Libertarian Party said should be a disqualifying offense. This man was the architect of the lockdowns, the architect of the Fauci regime, the architect of the vaccine, the architect of the COVID panic. This man was telling you that wearing a mask is patriotic. Chase never did anything like that. Chase never did anything like these things. He was standing up to genocide and police brutality and the war on drugs and the three-letter agencies and he'll free Ross and a bunch of other people that Trump fucking won't. But he's not going to be able to do that because he's not the fucking president, is he? So, you guys chose a chump option because you're fucking chumps. And understand that not only are you chumps, but you're chumps for fascism. And that is if you ever intended it to be anything else than fascist. Which I kind of doubt with some of you, and certainly with the person in charge, because what she's doing right now is exactly the kind of thing that has been done before. And this is the final phase of the same kinds of things that literally Hitler did to rise to power. When I was talking in the description of this video, I brought up long knives. I brought up the Rohm purge. I brought up the fact that this is an example of cutting off the left wing so that your right wing can engage the military-industrial complex and seize power. That's exactly what fucking Hitler did. If you don't want to be called a fascist, if you don't want to be called a Nazi, if you're going to say that it's unreasonable when people do make these comparisons, stop acting like it! Or you'll never smash the fucking state.